Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope the wind today will not be disturbing us too much because I have some quite important words to read from Polish president. Well, I should put Polish, I don't know how you say this in English, but maybe the title of this video will be is Duda really a Polish president? If you're wondering where I am at the Twierskoi Boulevard, which is one of my favorite places. Not sure what they are doing behind me. They're probably doing some setup for some little stations, little shops. But I will be reading to you a lot of words today. Because very recently, which is yesterday, Duda, Andrzej Duda, Polish-speaking president, gave an interview to one of the most, I would say, known or popular stations in Poland that is called Radio Z. I will attach the full interview, the link below this video, so you can watch it yourself if you have time, energy and interest in it. But what I have done, well, you know, it's not easy to listen to those people, but I've listened to this entire interview and I've translated some key points from his answers to very important questions that journalist was asking. However, I feel one of those questions was, well, maybe they were all, but one was staged. It looked like it was staged, but it's just my opinion. Actually, I will share with you before I end this video opinion about how people react to this interview, because it's just mind-blowing again what this man is doing. So let me just tell you guys, many of you are watching from other countries, so many countries, and I've mentioned those countries before when you put them in the comments and you say that you feel ashamed sometimes that you are from this country or that country. We should not be ashamed of our countries. I do feel like this sometimes too when people ask me here where I'm from, and I really pause for a long time before I say where I'm from, because we have the politicians that represent us and they create then this opinion about the people, the citizens of the country, which is so not true. This is a little longer read today, so I hope you can stay with me to the end of this video, because those statements are quite disturbing, especially that we just entered the month of July, and July is a very significant month for many reasons. First and foremost, we have the 80th anniversary of Wołyń massacre, and this is the topic that he was addressing to. Then we have, which is on July 11th, and the very same day, and you know, we have the NATO summit. Sorry, someone has a car and, you know, you can hear that car. So guys, the interview goes like this. Some of the questions I translated, not all of it, because not all of it really will make sense to you. Question number one from the journalist. So journalist asks, when will the elections be? Will it be on October 15th? And Duda answers, well, there is a very high probability that it will be in October, yes. So the journalist continues and he says, probability like up to 99.9%. And Duda answers, ha 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 ha, well, maybe I would exaggerate saying that because until the appropriate legal act is issued, it is difficult to say so unequivocally, but it is very likely that it will be in October. Journalist continues, Mr. President, is it possible to introduce a state of emergency after what has happened in Russia in recent days? after the appearance of Prigozhin and the Wagner Group in Belarus? Duda, we can always talk hypothetically on this basis, and it is possible to introduce a state of emergency if those circumstances are for it. And the journalist says, and today, are there reasons for it? Duda, not for today. I don't see any reasons to introduce a state of emergency. We have created security on the border with Belarus, although I look at it from a different point of view. We have elements of the election campaign. Some politicians are trying to play scare people scenarios here with a state of emergency. The fact is, Duda continues, the fact is that at a time when such a formation as the Wagner Group was relocated by Russia to Belarus, that perhaps several thousand of the Wagner Group will suddenly find themselves in Belarus, and officially they are not Russian soldiers, where at the same time there will be Prigozhin, the informal leader of this group, where at the same time we have been hearing for some time that Russia is to relocate tactical nuclear weapons. These are certainly informations that are of a great importance to NATO, because they affect the security architecture in our part of Europe and even in the world. Many pages, bear with me. Journalists ask, but what can threaten us from the Wagner Group, specifically from Prigozhin? Can you, for example, imagine a situation where some of those mercenaries, these serial killers, approach the wall on the border between Poland and Belarus and try to push these poor immigrants out? Duda, surely we can imagine such a situation. So this to me looked like a stage question answer. I'm not saying all of the interview was staged, because I don't think all of it was, but this particular moment. Duda continues, why is Wagner relocated to Belarus? We talk about it in The Hack. Journalist, what is really happening in your opinion in Moscow today? Duda, these are the speculations. Certainly something happened, we all saw it. It is a completely unique situation that has not happened in Russia for many decades. And the interview continues, and then we go to the part that is one of the most, if not the most important for many Polish people. Mr. President, in an interview for Interia, that's the name of the portal, you said that the current Ukrainian authorities have greater understanding of the Wołyń case than their predecessors. And this was the reaction of the priest, chaplain of the Wołyń's families, Father Tadeusz Izakowicz Zaleski, who said, quote from the priest about Duda now, you made another trip to Ukraine at the taxpayer expense, and again you did not have the courage to light candles and pray over the pits of death. End of quote. According to the priest, this is hypocrisy and cowardice. What will you answer him? Duda, this was the most challenging moment for him. So if you watch this interview, you can see absolutely unprepared for this, and the level of frustration and anger and feeling trapped is just there. It's so obvious. He answers. When he gets nervous, by the way, let me just tell you this, guys. Some of you who are Polish probably know, when he gets nervous, he starts to repeat the same words. He makes like long breaks in between the words and sentences, and he stutters. Well, I will answer it, yes. Then anger. I would prefer Father Zaleski to do what a priest should do. So the journalist goes, so he has no right to say anything about it? Duda, I would prefer that he did not deal with politics, but with what a priest should deal with. So before I continue with Duda's words, in Poland, there is a priest who for many, many years, I don't even remember how many, is so heavily engaged in politics and law and justice and all of this. His name is Rydzyk, Ksiądz Rydzyk, Priest Rydzyk. Massive amounts of money. The church owns a lot of land in Poland. So we have an example of some priest in Poland who is incredibly deeply involved in politics. And here is Duda saying that the priest should do what the priest should do, not get involved in politics. Let me continue, because this is not yet over. This vowing topic is very important, and Duda, I will save my words for the... So he continues, on the other hand, we conduct a peaceful policy, not a policy of running with a pitchfork, but a policy of peacefully seeking agreement on historically difficult matters, which are many decades old, very complicated, extremely painful for a group of our compatriots. This is a tragedy for families. This is a tragedy for families. This is a memory that must be preserved, and it is the right of every family to also have their loved ones commemorated, to make it a place, to make it a place to go, to lay flowers, to light candles, for believers just to pray. So he just elaborated like this, instead of really addressing and saying to the point. Journalist goes on. Does President Zelensky understand this? Does he understand Polish sensitivity? Duda. And this is something I am sure is understood by the current Ukrainian authorities that previously had problems. And these are very difficult issues, and the last thing I would like is some kind of attempt to initiate hatred between our nations, and unfortunately, that's how I see it. That there are attempts to initiate hatred. I had no doubt that there are countries that would like an outbreak of hatred between Poles and Ukrainians to take place, that would like an outbreak between Poles and Ukrainians to take place, and I think that they are doing a lot in this direction to lead to something just like that. It is our very serious task, also on the Polish authorities' side, to conduct these matters so they are settled between our nations on the basis of mutual respect. Here is typical Duda. Today, our basic task is to look at what reality our children and grandchildren will live in, what Central Europe will be like, what Poland will be like, what kind of Ukraine it will be like, what kind of neighborhood it will be like, will they be able to live in peace, develop peacefully, building the future. This is what I would like to assure them. This is what I would like to assure them. And I hope that this is what we will do with our Ukrainian neighbors, and I am doing everything in this direction. I know, guys, I'm getting too emotional here because he really gets on my nervous system. Let's continue. No more cars, hopefully. Next question about vowing. Journalist, is there any surprise waiting for us? Sorry, it's pretty nervy. Is there any surprise waiting for us on the 80th anniversary of the Wołyń massacre? Actually, he said like slaughtering. Will there be any breakthrough? Are we waiting for joint statements from you, Mr. President, and President Zelensky? Duda. I don't want to talk about any breakthroughs because I personally don't expect any breakthroughs in these matters. I believe that yes, we need to act very calmly in consistent manner, counting on mutual kindness. This Polish-Ukrainian kindness, that Polish-Ukrainian for which Poles have been recently done a lot and earned a lot gratitude from Ukrainian society. I repeat, society. Okay, so this is about Wołyń, and then there were a few more questions which I will tell you in a second. Let me just close those pages. So the last few questions were just the person who was asking, the journalist, wanted a quick answer, yes or no. So of course he just got one almost quick answer, no. Well, it wasn't right away, when he asked if Błaszczak, the Minister of National Defense, is responsible for this disaster with the mysterious rocket. And he got no from Duda. But let me tell you about this Wołyń situation. This is absolute shame. I have literally, no words. What kind of Polish president is this? Well, he's not Polish president to me. And I'm not just saying that he's not Polish because he does not represent Polish people in this matter. You know, that he's not Polish because of other aspects as well. And more I watch him, I really lean to this family tree that goes all the way back to the far east foreign country where currently we have all this situation going on. So this would kind of explain, right? Certain behavior like this. What else could? And mind you, and you know this, guys, maybe even some of you who are watching, there are still people who remember their relatives being absolutely slaughtered, killed in a horrific way because of that incident, because of that what took place. How much does it really take? You have two presidents of two countries coming together and saying, let's make peace, let's just put those candles and those flowers and let this never ever happen again. Does it take that much? Why is it so hard to do? Huh? Why is it so hard to do? Why? You know, now let me tell you before I forget. I think I can go now. Let me tell you guys. So I was watching the live chat from that video, from this interview. You have no idea, because you don't speak Polish, you don't understand, you don't have time for this, but I tell you, how many people were absolutely disgusted listening to his words and his responses to those questions. How people react. You know, they call him, he's the president of Ukraine. That's people say, straightforward. There is a very small percentage, I really want to emphasize, there is a small percentage of people who still support this party. They seem like, it seems like it's a lot because they own the media and they create in media this narrative like they still have so much support. And, you know, let them think like this. When it will come to the elections, we see election and it's another story, right? Hopefully it will happen in the time it should happen, but we see. And I tell you that this interview, he just buried himself in every way. Absolutely disgusting, zero respect. And we're talking about hypocrisy when this priest just said why he didn't light the candle. Because that priest actually represents the families, the relatives of those who were killed. I don't know exactly what was the number of people who died, but I know that is probably much more than Wikipedia is telling you. And Wikipedia is telling you 50 to 60,000. I believe it was much more than that. I'm not a historian, and again, you know, who wrote those numbers, right, in history? So, horrific crimes. And all it takes is two people who have some dignity, some morals, and some soul. Yes, they need a soul to stand together and say, we will never allow anything like this to happen again. But how can you expect this, right? From especially one side who is acting as if nothing has really changed. That's all I have for you guys for today. New month, it will be a lot of things happening in political scene for sure, energetically as well. And you know what? More and more comes up to the surface, the more you know, the clearer you should be about who is who. They cannot hide anymore who they are. So if you want to see the whole interview, you have it. You will have it below this video. You will have the link, and I will see you tomorrow in another video. Lots of love, everyone. If you appreciate the content, please subscribe. Help the channel to grow. I appreciate this very much. Hit that like and join me. Definitely join me on Locals. Those topics, guys, you have to be with me on Locals and follow me on Instagram. Also, my mailing list is down below this video. And I see you tomorrow, Sunday. The weather is great, so maybe we will do a little bit more travel spiritual, unless something else shows up again. Bye, everyone.